Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, we get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. There's a big story we're delving into tonight, the KPMG audit report on the SML GRA contract. Well, it's not a full report. We have the president's letter surrounding the recommendations and the findings. We'll be delving into that with two guests who have been involved in this. SML have a rep on the show, as does civil society. We'll start though with a quick recap of where we are with the matters in relation to what the Fourth Estate found briefly and also what the president said in his letter. We'll be right back with all of that. Stay with us. Welcome back. So how did all of this begin? The Fourth Estate, which is a newspaper or a media publication, investigated the award of a contract to SML by the GRA somewhere last year and found out that a contract had been signed to do revenue assurance and other things in Ghana's petroleum sector. They found that the contract did not go through the right procedures and came up with a short report. I need to also say that the special prosecutor has begun investigations into the matter, and as of end of last year, issued a half-year report talking about what he had found so far. The president also asked KPMG to delve into the matter, and they came through with a report which the president has written a letter on. But let's take you to highlights of what the Fourth Estate showed to its viewers in a documentary about this matter.
The ERGMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ICOMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
Once you are able to track whatever is happening on the ERGMS to ICOMS, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, you are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis for a service whose impact or relevance is difficult to ascertain. SML Ghana Limited started what it calls revenue assurance services to the GRA in the downstream petroleum sector in June 2020. The managing director of the company, Christian Tetesoti, says SML is an offshoot of a timber company he will not name. In February 2023, SML Ghana Limited again claimed that it had saved 3 billion cedis due to its operations. The company has admitted the services it listed on its website as curtailing irregularities in the sector did not exist and deleted them from the website. Even if SML was carrying out those services and all the incremental revenue within the period of its operations was credited to the company's efforts, the amount would be 2.4 billion cedis and not 3 billion cedis as it claimed to have saved. When we put these figures to the managing director, he made a shocking admission.
That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I'm not. I've told you that I'm not aware, because when we were told about the publication, we even called it.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Also on the website of SML, it stated its services as follows. Quote, the SML digitalization of downstream petroleum product measurement has stemmed the tide of underreporting, diversion, and dilution of fuel products and general non-compliance in the petroleum sector. Officials of the Petroleum Division of the GRA expressed shock when we put the listed services of SML to them. Before we started our interview with the Managing Director of SML, Christian Soti, the GRA officials present raised the claim and SML management denied stating anywhere that the company was providing those services. When we pointed the claims to them from the company's website, the managing director of the company said they were mistakenly put on the website.
Oh no, we are not involved in diversion. We are only at the depot. If the thing is lifted, we don't know. It's GRA custom that will determine where it goes and they will follow us. We are not capable. We don't have men outside.
SML admitted his claims were false, and a few hours after our interview, those claims disappeared from the website of the company. The company does not check dilution, diversion, or underreporting, the three factors the company said accounted for revenue losses in the past. According to the GRA, the losses were recorded after the petroleum products were lifted from the depots. And SML does not play any role in the measures put in place by the regulators to curtail the losses at that stage. And if a company does not deal with any of the problems it said were responsible for the losses, how does it take credit for saving billions of cedis as a result of solving those problems?
So that was a summary, really a short form of what Manasseh and his team at the Fourth Estate did. So what do I have? This is my plan. I'll summarize quickly what the president said. I'm sure some of you know this already. In the letter signed by Eugene Ahin, then my guests will have their bites on the KPMG report, because I think the KPMG report is, or at least what we have of it, is what is the base of all the discussion. So I have Bright Simmons, who is Vice President Honorary of Imani. Bright, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I also have Iyas Ewasapong, who is the Director of Support Services for SML. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So what did the president say? He acts on KPMG's findings and recommendations. I'm not going to read the whole thing. First point I need to make is when I read the report, I didn't see the mention of the Fourth Estate, which I thought was quite disappointing. Because if a journalist has done a job, the basis of which has led you to ask KPMG to do an audit, I think you should have mentioned them. But I can't tell the president what to do. But the president had acted on the findings and recommendations of KPMG, and as by letter dated Thursday, April 18, giving directives to the Ministry of Finance and GRA, the key issues. They agreed that no technical assessment was done prior to the engagement of SML. They also then state that such an assessment is not legally required because, Then they talk about 3 occasions where GRA sought approval from PPA to use single source procurement to engage SML, which the PPA refused. They explain how initially the ICUMS or the ICUMS was asked to basically subcontract SML to do a job. SML then takes over that job. Then there's also the finding around SML partially delivering on the transactions audit. So there are about 3 or 4 different services: transactions audit, external price verification, and then downstream petroleum audit service, which is contentious because civil society groups think that particular conclusion, that there was an incremental volume, you cannot attribute any volume to the work of SML. SML said they have evidence to show this. So IA will show how they believe that, in fact, what KPMG did, they think they did more than KPMG even showed in finding 5. And then the upstream has not yet been implemented, so KPMG is asking for some assessment to be conducted to establish a need, and then the pricing model should change. They also talk about total fees paid, $1 billion and some coins, and that the value to be paid over the 5 years will be 5.1 billion. And then some recommendations were given. Key recommendations: the government may terminate the contract with or without cause. They give 2 options there. Key points: the upstream petroleum and minerals audit needs to be done before the service is provided. And then the issues around the transactions audit and external price verification can be terminated because this service is already done by ICUMS, and therefore it renders a reliance on SML for external price verification redundant. Let me start with you. Welcome to the program. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
I noticed you released a statement agreeing with some things KPMG found and disagreeing with some things. So let's start with the ones you agree with. Which aspect of what KPMG has done do you agree with?
We have only shared things that we think we gave evidence to that they should represent us. For instance, with our performance. What KPMG did is to set a benchmark for our performance based on NPA and SLS data. And what we are saying is that we have not come to work for NPA. There are two volumes in the downstream petroleum. The loaded volume, which is the lifting volume, the volumes that we load to go and use as a nation. But there is another volume, which is the GRA's volume, which is the taxable volume, is the volume that comes to government to take tax from. So when we load the products and come to use it, but we don't return the tax to government, then there is revenue loss to the state. So this has gone on for a while, and it's gradually, swiftly becoming a national security issue. And there was a need to plug in this leakage.
As determined by who?
EY report speaks to this. RAISE speaks to this. Seaboard report speaks to this. So there is a need, because, look, the two authorities, NPA and GRA, both authorities in the downstream, they don't have meters. They rely on the depot meters for their reading. And when you go to any system where controls are strong, you have a main meter and a check meter to check the accuracy of what the main meter is giving. But we didn't, before SML, that was not happening.
Okay.
And GRA saw that, look, we are losing revenue. The report that EY has brought is saying this and this and this, because can you show me the data gap?
So you have a data gap analysis?
I have a data gap analysis that I brought.
Sorry, but for which particular service are we referring to? There are about 5 things: transactions, audit, external.
This is the downstream petroleum.
This is downstream petroleum.
Yes.
So is this, okay. So
the
what is
petroleum.
this? Data gap between lifting volume, MP, and taxable volume, GRA?
Yes. So when you look at this, this is before SML. In 2019 to April 2020, we started our operations in May 2020. We piloted in May 2020, and then we started June 2020. Now, if you look at the data before SML's operation, the lifting volumes, the first one, January 2019, you have 417,509,071 liters. Let's look at what went into the GRA system. 237,690,910.
Who is giving you this data?
This data, the NPA data, is in the NPA system. When you go to the website,
data?
Yes, the NPA data is the NPA data, and then the taxable data is the Bank of Ghana data.
So let's just be clear. The blue column
is for NPA. This is
what was traded.
Yes,
and then the green column is what
we
GRA
pay tax on.
Believes is the volume based on what came to them.
Is what came to them. Yeah.
I see. So when did you start working?
So if you look at this, in 16 months, there was 6.3 billion and the rest of it, as you can see.
In terms of volume?
In terms of volume,
and the taxable
latest. And then the taxable
3.1.
was 3.1.
So the gap is 3.2.
The 3.2.
So good. So January 2019 to April 2020. So you guys started
This
working
is the gap.
in May 2020.
And the gap is multiplied by the tax. It's the revenue loss to the state.
I see.
If you look at the revenue loss to the state, if you multiply this by 1.44, that was during the time that was the tax. You will have, if you go to, please can you go to the next, and this, I think the last slide for me, the last slide, and the last slide.
So but just we said May 2020 is when you started working?
Yes. So I just want to show the
so
figure.
you go to the next one.
The next one.
I see.
If you go to the next one, you will see that the discrepancy between the traded volume, this is the gap. So now, January 2019, that was the gap. And when we came since 2020 May, we have aligned the data.
I see. So you're saying that the gap between the blue and the green was
Is
what
the
was there before
revenue
you came?
leakage.
And the fact that the two lines are hugging each other shows that you reduced that gap.
We've reduced that gap.
I see.
The first data that I show you,
Yeah.
the gap, the 3.2 billion liters, that was the money that didn't come to government.
Yeah.
It translates into revenue of 4.6 billion Ghana cedis.
Because this is just volume of fuel. You haven't multiplied that by.
Yes.
I see.
If you do that, can you show me the 2020, the May 2020?
So
please?
go to the next slide.
The next slide. May 2020.
So everybody is showing slides today. It's a slideshow today. No, not this
No,
one.
no.
The one before. The one before. So
I
May
think
2020 is when you started working.
May
right?
Go to, we did a comparative analysis
I
for
see.
16 months and 16 months. So go to the previous one for me, please. Yes. So if you look at this,
I see.
when we came, May 2020, we were piloting. What happened was that the lifting volume was 400, let me go there, 406,379,657. Now we were just piloting. Let's look at the taxable volume. It just shot from the 240 average taxable volume to 397,846,713. If you look at it,
what did you do to raise it to that 300?
yes, because we have tightened controls. We improved compliance.
With
What
how do you do it?
What are
did
some
you
of these
use?
things that we have done? I will
We'll
tell
come to
you.
that. So
Yes,
you're telling
let
me
me,
that
let me-
all the things in the green column are because of your work, and the fact that the red numbers are smaller means that
So now, yes, you see, now if you look at the totals from May 2020 to August 2021, NPA loads 7.4 billion liters. GRA received 7.1 billion.
So the gap is only
volume.
260.
Yes.
Whereas prior to your coming, the gap was big.
That is it.
I see.
And some people are saying that, oh, the consumption goes up. That is
So just to be clear, the information in the green column came from GRA.
the GRA.
Information in the blue column came from
Bank
who?
of Ghana. The blue column
Information
is
came
NPA.
from MPA.
Yes.
The
And
information
then
in the green column.
the petroleum tax holding account, where this
So just for listeners
tax,
to understand
yes,
this.
Bank of Ghana.
So the blue column is MPA.
yes,
The green column is GRA.
yes, and then the gap is the
You
difference.
calculated the gap.
Yes.
I see.
Yes. And if people are saying, oh, the consumption is there when we are
So let's
using
be
more
clear,
fuel.
all of this is for the downstream.
The downstream. We
So-
are talking about the downstream.
Good. So I want to relate this to the report. This is finding number 5.
Right.
Finding number 5 that said that regarding the downstream petroleum audit service, KPMG determined that there was an incremental volume of 1.7 billion liters and an incremental tax revenue of 2.45 billion for the period under review. And then you talk of qualitative benefits. Now, your argument is that the volume is more than KPMG is saying. The volume that you got for Ghana is more than
what
what
we have
KPMG
done.
is saying.
What
So
we have
KPMG underrepresented how much work you have done.
Yes.
Is that what you're
because
saying?
Yes.
I just want to understand.
Yes. Yes. If you go to the Bank of Ghana, where the petroleum holding account is, that is when we talk about this volume and we add the tax to it, it generates into money.
Yeah.
Where does it reside? It resides with
I see.
Bank of Ghana. So the issue is that
Yeah.
when we came to the downstream, GCNet data was what was available.
I see.
And that was what was used to set the benchmark for us. KPMG says that we can't use GCNet.
So just to be clear, the gap between the blue and the green is because of under-declaration, presumably.
Yes, it's not found. The money is not there.
Yes, my point is
it's
that
gone through the,
I just want to, people have traded volume of 7 billion.
and then we are getting tax of
because they
3.1.
under-declare. So, but the question, why did your CEO tell the journalists that you don't do under-declaration? You don't, it's not part of the scope of what you do. When the journalist asked him that question, he says SML does not check under-declaration.
This is the data when it comes into the ERDMS and is transferred into the GRA system. That is where, when it comes into the GRA system, this is what GRA receives.
I understand this, but I'm saying that your MD,
So this is
your
not-
MD told the reporters that the scope of work you do, what you do does not include checking under declaration. He said that. We saw it in the video.
There are so many things that has been taken out of context in that video.
So he said it, but it was taken out of context.
You see, last Saturday I read a letter. It was signed by Honorable Mustafa.
Okay.
He was saying, because the previous, I read 2 letters from NPA, and I brought it here today.
Yeah.
The first one was Honorable, signed by Mr. Alhassan Tampole, who is saying that it is very good. Look, installation of electronic metering systems by Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. The NPA over the past years.
Dated when?
Yes, 10 February 2020.
10 February 2020?
Yes.
But I started working in May 2020.
We started working in May. So GRA GRA introduces us. We are third party. GRA introduces us to NPA because before you do anything, NPA are the regulators of the downstream. They need to know what is going on. You need to let them know. So this is a letter that Mr. Tampole is acknowledging that we like the initiative that you have taken, GRA. If, allow me to read this section of the letter. The NPA over the past years has instituted some technological interventions in the petroleum downstream industry aimed at improving controls and curbing illicit activities in the industry. This is an acknowledgement of illicit activities. It is acknowledged. So when people are saying that there is an utopian system in the downstream, it is false. Now, I will continue. The authority plans to introduce further measures to monitor inflows and outflows of petroleum products from depots in the country. It has therefore taken note with keen interest the initiative by the GRA to install electronic metering system at the depots.
I see.
The authority, however, would like to be appraised on the functionalities of the electronic metering systems. We therefore hereby request for closer collaboration between the 2 authorities, that is NPA and GRA, so as to avoid duplication of efforts in our attempt to sanitize the petroleum downstream industry. This is signed by Mr. Tampole.
So your point, let me just your point is that NPA by this letter acknowledges a need to GRA.
Yes. They all have a need. They don't have meters. NPA don't have meter. GRA don't have meter. And we are selling petroleum products.
I see.
So GRA says, and NPA, if you look at the data I showed, the NPA loading data has always been within the range of 400 million. But who is short-chain? The volume in the tax system is short-chain. So GRA has pressure.
So you brought a solution, i.e. meters, to check,
plug in.
so that we will know that the amount that they traded is the amount that GRA also gets.
That is what you see.
So, so even though NPA wrote to GRA or GRA wrote to NPA, they needed you to provide a solution for the 2 of them to have the same information. I'm just trying to establish that point.
The GRA need their own data independence. GRA has never had that. They've always relied on another person, NPA system for their data. So they need data independence for them to be able to fully...
You recognize from what you're saying that it means that GRA cannot trust NPA. If NPA, you're saying that NPA is reporting that this is the volume we traded, but GRA is getting a lower volume. And you're saying that this letter that Hassan Tampole wrote to establish that there's a need to reconcile the data the 2 of them have.
Yes,
which is what your company came to do.
This is not this is not something that I'm saying. Okay. It is something that is there.
Right.
The data speaks to it.
Fair enough.
They have committee that they set every year or so to look at this reconciliation, discrepancy issue.
I'm giving you like 20 minutes to explain yourself, and from what I've heard so far, you're saying that the biggest recommendation you want to take issue with is the recommendation 5, which suggested that there was an incremental volume of 1.7 billion, of which you say you had a bigger volume.
We have a
which you've tried to show.
Can you show? No, this one is the need. This is the revenue leakage that we have come to bridge the gap.
I understand that.
Yes, but the money issue.
Yes.
Us?
Let's take a breather. We'll come back. I want to digest what you said, and then come back and see if we can move forward. So let's take it one by one.
Right.
Viewers, this is the point of view. Tonight we're trying to here SML's case and here CSO's case. So as you can tell, both of them brought documents. So we are going to the SML document. When we finish, we'll go to the CSO document, and you'll make your own conclusion. Stay with us. Welcome back. So we're talking the KPMG audit report on the SML GRA deal. My guest, Yase Wasapong of SML. Bryce Simmons is here, also sat quietly. He also brought a lot of slides. Yeah, you spent 20 minutes going through your slides, or maybe 15. You're telling me that all that you've shown me is to establish that there was a need for downstream
revenue leakage plugin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're also saying that on the basis of your work, more money came to Ghana.
Yes.
And that money was from your work, not from the natural growth of the petroleum sector.
So the
do you have evidence to show that?
You see, there are two things. People are saying that the consumption is increasing. We are using more fuel.
Yes.
We are not talking about consumption. We can consume, but if we don't pay tax for it, government don't get money. And what GRA and SML deal is about is to help close that,
so do you have a
revenue
chart
leakage
that shows the increase in petroleum consumption and then the increase in taxes? If what you're saying is true, the increase in taxes will be steeper than the increase in petroleum consumption.
So the chart that I have is the graph that I showed earlier. Okay. We came to align the gap.
Which you've shown. This is what you've done.
Yes. We have aligned the gap. So that means that the revenue that GRA was losing has now been closed up.
So this is your evidence?
This is the evidence. That the data before 2019 to 2020 May, April, you will see the gap. And then after that, we started, we piloted 2020 May. And then from there, you can see that the data is now aligning.
I see.
That is one of the things that we have come to do.
Good. What's the second one?
Okay, so GRA don't have real-time insight. And in the petroleum industry, if you are collecting money and you don't have real-time insight, how then do you even know that OMCs have lifted beyond their bond? The OMCs are the oil marketing companies who come to lift the product and go and sell to the public.
All right.
Now, because they have assessed them, they know their strength.
Yeah.
They have a bond limit for them, and their insurance support that.
Yeah.
So if you are not having real-time monitoring for them, for their activities, one OMC in a day can lift across the country. We have 24, 25 depots. The new one is the 25th one, which was in January. They lift across Atuabo, Takrade, Kumasi.
No what I want you to explain to me, because we are still on point 5, the only positive thing, in my view, that KPMG said about what you did was that in the downstream sector, there was some incremental value of 1.7 billion liters and an incremental tax of 2.45. Basic mathematics, you were paid 1 billion. So if you've managed to get us 2.45, it means that you've taken probably about 40%.
The correction is...
So I want you to tell me what is wrong with what KPMG has said. KPMG said you managed to give us an incremental benefit of 2.45 billion cedis. Is that what that's what they said?
That's what's in the report.
That's what is in the report.
And that's what
and that you've been paid 1 billion cedis.
And we've not received any 1 billion cedis.
How much have you been paid?
We've not received any 1 billion cedis. We have only been given 0.05 pesos a letter.
So how much have you been paid in total?
I have not the account, and I can't say that now.
But you are saying you are not being paid. So
we've not been paid because if
so just to be clear, the KPMG claim that you've been paid 1 billion 0.061 is not true?
It's not true because we have not received that.
So how much have you received?
We have not received. We have only received 0.05 pesos per liter for what we do, and what
which
we
amounts
have done.
To how much?
And even with this,
yeah, you see, if you say somebody is, we don't have all day. The KPMG say you have increased revenue in the downstream by 2.45.
Yes.
And that you have been paid 1 billion. So I'm saying that you've gotten about 35% of the revenue that we've got. So my question to you is, how much have you been paid?
What we are not seeing in this is that KPMG's report, as stated by the president, is saying that the total fees paid under the contract from 2018. And what people are saying is that the 1 billion has been taken because the reference that is made here.
Saying, no. I'm asking you what
so
is
what
here.
the report this is saying is that you see, when you were asking the question, you said that we have only added 2.4 in the downstream.
Yes.
But KPMG is saying that the 1 billion that we have taken is for all the contracts from 2018.
But you just said you started working in 2020 May.
We have been working with the dry cargo, the port services, the transaction.
So you've been working before 20?
Yes.
20. Fair
That
enough.
is what the video makers didn't tell Ghanaians. They just told Ghanaians we came from the bush or plantation, from the timber.
We have shown, we have said what the video makers have said. They said your CEO said you don't do downstream, what do you call it, under declaration verification. That's what your CEO said, which is what I've put out. So let's stick with what we've said here. So I just want to be clear. You've said two things. There was a need based on what you've shown me, and that you say you've not been paid 1 billion.
We've not.
Fair enough.
We've not. And
let me take a breather. I want to listen to CSOs as well. At least a few things have been in the public domain. KPMG has spoken. Bright, I want you to also walk me through some of your charts.
The challenge is, of course, as you say yourself, it's a very technical subject. So
Yeah.
ideally, you should have extended the program. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'll go through nonetheless. So if you can project my slides, I think there's a lot of logical deficiencies. And until we explain to people how the system actually works in Ghana, there will be confusion. So I'll do my best to do that, if I can just see my slides.
So, yes, it's coming up shortly.
Okay, so next slide. Let's remember where we are now.
Yes.
Where we are is that you have a company that is offering 4 services to the country.
Yeah.
Those services were not competitively tendered.
Yes.
So a lot of people have said that, you know, it's a Ghanaian company, you should support Ghanaian companies and the rest of it. That doesn't mean that you should support only one Ghanaian company.
Yeah.
It means that there should be open, competitive, transparent, meritocratic processes. And what we've now established is that somehow, as soon as this company was formed in February 2017, by May 2017 thereabouts, it already was being presented to the PPA for single sourcing. What does single sourcing means? It means that there's no other company which has your unique competences. Now, the argument has been made that, oh, you can simply assemble people tomorrow. And as soon as you assemble people tomorrow and you have the competence, you deserve a contract. That's not how it works in corporate governance. And you need to know that. You have an MBA.
Yeah.
It's the capacity of the individuals versus the capacity of the company, the culture you set up, your compliance history.
So track record is
your
key
track record
in here.
as a company is key. So the fact that you can find experts around the world, assemble them together, does not necessarily automatically mean you have a track record. Once that was done, I think if they can bring my slides back, once that was done, the PPA, even though we often argue that PPA tends to be pliant to politicians, in this case, 3 times they said no. Then the company was introduced as a subcontractor. Obviously, because the contract, until the time it was ratified in 2023, had not received PPA approval, KPMG established that the contract was illegal up to that point. The argument is that the contract has now been ratified. The truth of the matter is that that does not give retrospective legitimacy to all the illegality that has been conducted. Secondly, KPMG establishes...
So everything before ratification, in your view, is vitiated?
Is illegal.
All right.
Secondly, KPMG is very clear that, and we have said that the findings of facts, as far as KPMG has brought them, we are fine. Our challenge has been the analysis and recommendations that are followed, and I will explain that in a moment. Secondly, KPMG is very absolute in its view that without parliamentary approval, this contract, as it currently is now, the consolidated one that has ratified everything that has happened before, is illegal. It must go to Parliament. Until this contract goes back to Parliament and the people's representatives call for opinions and things like that and try and examine this on a public interest basis, this contract is illegal. Any payment, therefore, that gets made under this contract until these matters are rectified are illegal.
All right.
I think everybody accepts that fact.
Good.
Go on to the next point. So that's where we are now.
Yes.
Not a single peso more must be paid to SML until the matter goes back to Parliament.
All right, go to the next slide.
Go to the next slide. What is absolutely essential that we put out is the fact that this company has been paid 1 billion cedis under an illegal contract, and that's very critical. It's also important to establish that nobody sat down carefully and determined what is exactly we want this company to come and do to help the overall system. Somebody sat there in one corner in the GRA, even though this is a complete system, and then determined that it needed this service, and that's important. Next slide. Next slide, please. We also have, as Ms. Sewa herself acknowledges, more than one regulator in the space. There are at least three regulators who are interested in this matter. You have the NPA, you have the Ghana Revenue Authority, and you have the Ghana Standards Authority. All the devices, all the software, etc., in a proper country will be certified by the Ghana Standards Authority. The GRA will look for taxes that comes from the volumes. And then the NPA's job is to make sure that companies are compliant. So whether or not companies are paying taxes of interest to the NPA as well. The NPA as the key regulator in the petroleum sector is not just focused on liftings, as the impression has been created. Its job is to ensure compliance with all the laws. So it regulates the company to ensure that they are being compliant, including even things like fire certificate and things like that. Now, it's important. Can I have the slides back on? It is important that we establish that the NPA has been doing things during the same period that this company has been doing things. And in the order of marginal hierarchy, the NPA's activities in that particular sector must also be accounted for. Essentially, what has the NPA been doing since these reports from Ernst & Young and Chamber of CBOD and the rest came out? What has NPA been doing? NPA claims that all the things that it's doing has led to increase in petroleum consumption by 40-something%. Next slide. So what has KPMG been doing? What has NPA been doing? What NPA tells the public it's been doing is that it established something called the DMS. And the critical necessity of that system is such that if a company owes taxes, an OMC, as they call them, owes taxes, it's not allowed to go into a depot and load. And the job of the software developers of that DMS is to create the analytics for the NPA to understand which company is compliant and which company is not compliant.
This is something they've been doing already.
Which is something they've been working on. No, since they came to, this company came to office, from 2018 onwards, NPA has been working on this DMS and other systems. So when he shows you a trend, and he says that over this period, this has been the changes, the question you have to ask her is are you the only one working to improve things, or are there other people? So sorry,
so this DMS, you're saying that even though NPA is part of it, there could be other players like their company?
No, what I'm saying is that NPA didn't have DMS before.
Okay.
In 2018, he started to work around modernizing the whole fuel sector. And DMS and things like that started to emerge.
Okay.
It was around that time that this company was also working but not in the petroleum downstream.
Okay.
Over time, this company has been doing work that it claims is relevant.
Okay.
The point I'm making is that you have to account for the contributions of NPA and others in trying to determine what has changed in the industry.
Okay.
So in the past, you could go and load fuel in the depot, even though you've not paid your taxes, and nobody would know. Now, because you have to input your orders into the DMS, if you have not paid some taxes from previous orders, the system will notice that. And the system can also notice other analytics that can help NPA do its job better. In addition to that, NPA has also engaged a company called, initially it used to be a foreign company called Authentics. It now has a local partner called Nationwide. That helps it fight other things that has not even been mentioned. Okay. Smuggling. It's not, if for instance, those volumes that you were looking at, the discrepancy between what is taxed and what is consumed, if you take into account the fact that some of it was being smuggled, and this company that we are having this conversation about, SML, doesn't fight smuggling, but the NPA fights smuggling by having these dyes in fuel and things like that, and fights adulteration of fuel and things like that. You have to ask yourself how much of that fuel that was not being taxed was being smuggled out, which NPA is now trying to seal those leakages, right? Okay. You have to ask yourself, what about the fact that NPA has engaged a company called Rock Africa, which has partners, one of which is ACES, and which is actually now putting in all these sensors at the retail level and at the depots. It's an ongoing process. And if you look at the slides again, that information is online, you can check it. Those companies claim that they are also able to monitor what is in the tank, what is loaded into the truck, and what is eventually offloaded at the filling station. Okay. Now, if all of these activities are not contributing to fixing the problem that all of us know exists, which is that some OMS don't pay tax, then fundamentally, we are saying that all the NPA staff should be kicked out because we are paying for millions of dollars for them.
We are spending enough money on this.
We are spending millions of dollars. So it's either you're saying we don't trust all of these things, they are useless, they don't help us in the problem, only SML does the job, or you acknowledge that NPA and the rest have also contributed.
Good. Now, so I'll take this as your basic intro.
That's one point. Let me make a fundamental point.
I want to take a short break, so when I come back, then you move it forward.
Okay.
I'm trying to also negotiate for more time. This is the point of view. We're trying to get to the bottom of a very important matter. My guest here, Sewa Sapong of SML, Bright Simmons of Imani, representing other civil society groups. Stay with us. Welcome back. So the point of view tonight is basically trying to discuss what we know of the KPMG report. I need to say that a number of people have spoken about the KPMG report. The NDC held a press conference today and demanded release of the full report by the president. We've already had Isaac Adongo say that as well. Imani and Bright Simmons and some groups are also demanding same. Very interesting point. Both sides, SML, CSO, agree with some things KPMG has done, disagree with a lot of things. So KPMG itself may need to come out and speak. Bright, you've done some basic things around what you say MPA has done.
Yeah.
But I think your main contention has to do with the issue. Let me land on my main
contention.
Yes.
My main contention is that everything that Mr. Ewa or Mr. Pong showed you on the screen establishes that nobody doubts the MPA information. She didn't say that, on this column, there's MPA things, we think they are wrong, right? She said this is the MPA data, which we accept.
Yes.
But this taxable volumes, which is the GPR data, there's a gap.
GRE.
This GRE data, there's a gap. So what that tells you is that we actually know who has the fuel. There's no doubt about it because the MPA data is not trusted. It's not doubted. So the question then becomes, why were they not paying? Not why were they declaring. I see the logical difference.
You're saying, in her,
when you look at the two graphs, he shows you
her blue column.
Very good. The blue column shows
MPA
you the
transactions.
Very good. And those MPA transactions, she doesn't dispute them. She doesn't say, you see this 500 million, it's wrong.
Yes.
She said this is fine. Okay.
But it's correct.
But
right?
GRA data, she says it's lower than the MPA data. And therefore, they are under declaring.
The gap, the red column.
No. So long as we know the consumption, nobody's under declaring. What was happening was that they were not paying. So I go and I load, I don't pay. I come back again, I load, I don't pay, and it builds up into arrests. That is why every now and then, if you can go to CTFM website, you will see occasionally MPA like we've revoked this MOMC for not paying tax. We've revoked. So if we know who is consuming or who is loading the fuel, and our problem is that these people are not paying tax. The problem,
it's not an declaration
it's
problem.
not another declaration problem, and it's not about
it's a compliance.
It's a compliance and enforcement problem.
I get you.
But the MPA was hobbled by the lack of software that helps it to know which OMCs are risky, which ones continually refuse to remit.
I get you.
Because remember, they are going to load the fuel. At that point, they only pay the special petroleum tax, the S-Depot tax. Then when it gets to the filling stations, they start to pay most of the other taxes. So if you are not careful, they load. When they collect the money from the consumers, they keep it in their pocket. They don't remit it to government. But if you don't have a mechanism that enables you to stop them from continuing to do that, then they will keep piling it up until a time will come. They will announce on air that these companies own 2 years of tax or 1 year of tax. It's 100 billion, whatever. We've cut them off. So the logical deficiency in that model that he just explained to you is that we are confusing different things. We are confusing the ability to enforce and maintain compliance with people lying about the numbers. And that is where the flaw lies. Let me explain more things to you. Go to the next slide and I'll show you a few things.
Okay. Is this the energy levies one?
No, the one that comes before this one.
Okay, the one before. All right, this one.
Okay. So what we're trying to establish here is that, and this I think Mr. Apon doesn't get it, and I'll explain why. There are two things that determine the tax. There is how much volume we are consuming and what is the tax amount itself. You understand it?
Yeah.
How much fuel you consume and the tax amount. Before 2018, most of those taxes were what we call ad valorem. So it was linked to the price. So if the price is 14, you pay a percentage. Then we brought in a law and we said that no, we'll charge specific taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain to you 3 things that can change the numbers dramatically. One, because of price increases, people stop consuming fuel a lot. You don't put on air condition. That can affect it, right? Because of the fact that there are more cars in the country, people buy more fuel. Okay. Now imagine that the tax amount changes. I'll give you a very practical example. During 2021, when the Ukraine conflict was coming and fuel prices were going through the roof, government said we should remove the price stability levy, price recovery stabilization levy. We should remove it from the fuel because people are suffering. You remember that decision?
Yeah.
Immediately points for 9 pesos or something like that goes off every liter. If you didn't know and you just look at the trend, you immediately say that there are some changes in the volume. So you cannot do this kind of elementary analysis at all. This kind of things where we call treatment effect, which if you remember your economics, is sophisticated statistical techniques looking at all the issues that will have affected the volume trends. You are getting the point?
Yeah.
So nobody should simply say, oh, and this one changed, and this one changed, without telling you what are the inventory of changes which will have affected it.
So you're saying there are multiple factors that can lead to volume changes?
That is what we are calling the exogenous factors. But it's not just volume changes. It's also pricing effects.
Yeah.
So when you have ad valorem, if the price goes up, tax goes up automatically. When you change it to specific, when prices go down, tax doesn't go down.
Yeah.
So effects that you'll have seen where prices go down, tax was going down. Now all of a sudden, when prices go down, tax doesn't go down. So all of those dynamics, what people like us do for a living. So when we say we've looked at the data, done our statistical analysis, done our robustness checks and things like that, and concluded that there are no effect, it's because of all those treatments, which they haven't done. and which we are waiting to see if KPMG has done. Now, let me show you a few other things because they're important. Next slide. Here are the list of the key levies and things on the screen. Yeah. It doesn't include the margins like bust margin and unified pricing volume. So forget about those. Those don't go to government, right? The key things that go to government are here, except the special petroleum tax, which is an S-depot tax, and it's not on this screen. You have energy debt recovery levy, you have this, you have this, you have this, you have this. What you have to bear in mind, and that is very important, look at it very carefully. What do you see? There are some fuel products which don't have some taxes. Yeah. You see that? That already tells you that there's an inbuilt mechanism in which all the time the GRA and the NPA volumes will differ because some volumes are not taxed. I see the logic. So there are some taxes like fuel oil, like kerosene. Kerosene, you see that there's almost no tax on kerosene. Have you seen that?
By the way, the NPA data that was shown, was it for all fuels or for specific fuels?
Is it mine? Mine, it was only gasoline and diesel because those are the drivers of tax revenue. Yeah.
You showed column
He showed all of them.
So it's premise that we don't pay tax on.
So the premix was out. Okay. So this was petrol, diesel.
Diesel.
Don't let it get confused, people. You just look at the screen. You will see that when you take fuel oil, and you take what do you call it? MGO. Yeah. You see MGO. Have you seen that some taxes are not on there?
Yes.
Have you seen that when you take what do you call
it? Kerosene? There's only one tax.
So there is always going to be some fuel volumes in the country which don't get taxed. Secondly, remember transshipment.
So there will always be a gap between the blue and the green column in her
Secondly, remember transshipment. Yeah. There are some fuel that comes to the country, and then you have other countries where we trade with, like Burkina Faso and others. Yeah. Then you have a company in Ghana that has some fuel volumes here. And all of a sudden, the decision is taken that actually we want to take it to Burkina Faso. NPA has introduced tracking devices that you put on the track to try and prevent it. Yeah. That one SML cannot provide. So if you are fighting under declaration where somebody is lying about transshipment, things going to Mali and things like that, and you don't have the mechanism to actually track the tracks and the rest of it, you will not be able to fight under declaration. All of this is to say that there are some fundamental differences between taxable volumes and consumed volumes.
But just to be clear, hold on there.
SML is...
I just want to hear something. Is this under declaration at the port?
No, it's the money that is not accounted for tax.
No, but if
that is what we are talking about.
To confuse my listeners.
No, I'll continue with you. Yes. I just want to understand something. So the difference between the blue and the green column you showed, which is
the gap.
But I think his main point is that you cannot say you are checking under declaration because you are not doubting what MPA has put out.
Oh, that's one point.
I have said is that the difference between this is the money that has not come to government.
The difference between
the NPA's volumes and then the tax volume, the one that ended up in the tax system.
I see.
Which GRA says that I'm supposed to get the same as loaded at the depot. If I'm not getting that, then the difference...
Let's not have this interference. It completely confused my listeners. What I'm explaining is that there are two different things completely.
Yes.
One is that some people come and load at the depots. They don't pay tax. That would automatically create a gap between MPA data and GRA data. Okay. Why they don't pay tax is a matter of enforcement and compliance.
You've established that point.
Very good. Second, and that one I think your discerning listeners understand that point. The second point is that because some of the fuels, as you can see, have different types of taxes on them. Whenever you look at you always see a variance between some of the
taxable
and the taxable volumes because of the nature in terms of
that's also clear.
I also established that there's some trading in the region.
Yes.
So sometimes fuel that is declared to be used in Ghana, all of a sudden may have to be exported.
So that it's not even taxable.
It's not good. Very good. So next slide.
Good.
So we have established that there are some inherent differences in the volume between the two. We've also established that the issue of differences between what taxes go into the government account and this one is due to the fact that some of them were not paying taxes.
Yes.
And NPA is now harder on them.
Yes.
We now look at this very fascinating situation that you are looking at.
We've already done this. Go to the next slide. You explained this already.
The under declaration burden is not the total gap, as you've established, right? If you come to Ghana right now and somebody goes and does a deal with GRA that actually, you know what? I declared losses because my depot got bent. I have all manner of issues. So I want to do a deal to pay my taxes over a certain period. And they cut you a deal. Tax volume in the country will reduce because we've cut a deal with you, right? That does not necessarily mean you've under-declared. So anybody trying to fight under declaration or any attempt to any fraud in the system must not use gaps that are absolute gaps to say that this is the gap that maps to under declaration. They must not also say that, because this volume moved from 5 liters to 20 liters, all that 15 there is due to me catching people who are going to try and steal. Next point.
All right. So that's what you've shown here.
No, next slide. Sorry.
Go to the next slide.
Okay. Now here is a fascinating kicker. In 2022, what you are looking here is we have something in this country called the annual tax revenue report. People like us, we read this for pleasure. Every time it's released, we go and read everything. Okay. Some people that are not familiar with politics analysis in this country may not be familiar with this document. So I'll give you the number you can find it at.
Page 38 of the 2022 annual tax report.
When you read here, it tells you that special petroleum tax collections in 2022 total 2.24 billion, down from 2.34 billion in 2021. And this represents nominal negative growth. When you check it in negative real growth, it's 26%. Why is that important? Two things. One, all the numbers that Ms. Asapon was giving to you, she does not account for inflation. You understand? So she thinks that if we got $1 billion last year and this year we've got 2 billion, automatically there's an increase in the amount of money government is receiving. No. Because of inflation and stuff like that, the money account, the value of money changes. So what they have said, which is said negative real growth, is to show you that during the period that SML was working, there were periods where we were recording significant decline in the amount of tax we were collecting for this category, SPT. Now, what that tells you is if you are not careful in the way we design the performance benchmark, then a time will come, we'll have to build them. We have to say that if it goes up, we give you money. Then if it goes down, you have to give us money. You understand the logic? Okay, now go to the next one. The next one looks at it not for special petroleum taxes which are applied at the depot,
but petroleum taxes
which are more downstream. And there too, do you see that there was another decline? And here to have given the page.
2.27 to 2.19. Nominal negative of 3.6.
Have you seen the real negative growth between
25%.
The two? Okay. So go to the third slide and let me show another dynamic. Here is another levy.
Energy debt recovery levy.
Have you seen the decline, the real growth, the negative growth?
Again for the 2 years.
But see the negative, 20-something percent.
26%.
Right? Okay. You see how massive those numbers are?
Yeah.
Go to the next one. Let me show you something. What you have here is the deviation as I described it for most of the key taxes. Everything you see in the circles, curly brackets, are the deviations. What you see on the right stream is the absolute deviation in percentage terms.
And right is the percentage.
Have you seen that for sanitation and pollution levy, which are very small amounts of money, you saw some increases, but for almost all the big ones, you saw some decreases. If it was just all fuel like that, how come tax can increase on some and some can go down? It's because those changes I was telling you that are heterogeneous effects.
So we have to take it.
It's not a joke. It's a serious analysis.
You don't lump everything together.
Then you can also see the difference in the targeted amount and the actual amount that was got and the declines over the 2 years, right? 2021 and 2022. Go to the next one. Let me make my.
By which time they were still working?
They were working throughout all that period because they were working from 2020, as we said to you, to now. What you should also establish is the fact that the money that you've been mentioning here, the 1 billion cedis, which we can't establish, but which KPMG says, and for now we are using the KPMG report. So on matters of fact, we accept that. SML was the biggest recipient of money in the entire energy sector from the energy taxes. This is the distribution, and this is all Ministry of Finance reports, which I've given to you. So your team should be fact-checking me in real time. You will see that.
What period is this?
This period is 2021, 2022.
Okay.
No, this is 2016 to 2022.
All right.
You will see that the different taxes that are distributed among them. Go to the next screen. You find that the amounts involved are far lower than what we paid to SML alone.
I think it's the previous slide.
Now,
it's the previous slide.
The previous slide. But I'm saying that the point is straightforward. The amount of money that we've paid to the key agencies, VRA, ECG, and the rest, out of taxes per year, compared to the about 200 and something million per year that they are receiving, is lower. And that's very significant. Go to the next slide. This is about the fact that we've been talking about downstream all along. But until the fourth estate intervened with ASEP and Mani joined, this matter will have not obviously been at the stage that it's currently in. We're going to give SML an additional contract. Now that contract will have required that for every barrel of oil we produce in this country, we must give them $75.
That was the upstream one.
Yes. We must give them 0.7. That's basically almost $1 for every barrel. For every mineral, gold, manganese, because the document is, when you read it, doesn't really distinguish. It says all minerals. So gold, manganese, diamond, all of it. Every time we sell, we must give them 0.75%. That tells you that the pattern of analysis is not about performance. Because in the downstream, that effort is being tried to create, the effort is being created, the impression is being created that it was all about performance. But as I explained to you, the way they try to extend the contract, establish that they are, in their logical framing of the matter, every time there is production in Ghana, some of that production is due to the fact that there's SML. So you must give them a percentage. An argument is that that's basically a Japan in suit and tie. This is basically an attempt to reintroduce a Japan after Japan failed.
That was for the upstream.
That's for the upstream. I think my last slide is the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, but you recognize that KPMG sort of did not really say whether we should, this guy said we should establish a need for the upstream service. So KPMG is saying that the upstream petroleum mineral audit could be a major source of revenue for the state, and if their leakages could be significant. Therefore, they recommend reviewing these services by conducting a comprehensive needs assessment and engaging stakeholders with diverse interests.
But you know why that comprehensive needs analysis is very important? It's because, like I've tried to establish before you right now, there are a lot of logical gaps in some of the way people explain the need. So I've tried to explain to you that if you have a performance benchmark, you have to keep varying it. It cannot be static, right? Every year, some factors will happen that are exogenous factors. And there has to be a model that you plug it in and say, okay, because of these factors, the benchmark has been revised. If you listen carefully to SML, they claim that there was a 2019 benchmark, which was based on the volumes that they came to meet, and everything above that is now considered performance. That's not a performance benchmark. Because there are other factors that affect the fuel volumes and prices and the tax take over the period.
So that merger of the two charts, you're saying that there were things that MPA already was doing before.
Very critically.
And there are also other things at play other than what they said they were doing.
Which was leading to the convergence. The biggest single factor was that yield DMS became increasingly mature. To the point where, because of that, if you didn't have the right permits, you're not being allowed to load fuel.
I get it.
So because of that factor, and the fact that even with that, volumes can still go up and down independent of compliance. You cannot have a fixed benchmark. You understand what I mean? That's all the things that I explained to you. So that fundamentally is our key argument.
I get it. Now, Bryce has said a lot of things, and I think the two of you have spoken. What I want to do is to go back to the KPMG report and ask you some specific questions on what you agree with and disagree with. So let's to be clear, they're saying, for example, that the transaction audit and external price verification service may be terminated because they believe that the GRA has introduced these services under ICUMS already, and that if you do it, it's redundant. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah. If you look at the statement we released, the 5 and 6, we say emphatically that we disagree with the findings that of the transaction audit and external price verification, being that ICOMS cannot audit its own operation. What the transaction audit is that the transaction audit and external price verification, what we do is that when the importers bring the goods, the ICOMS system, which GRA, CTSB is using, they classify and value the product for the taxing. Now, when they finish, there is need for another person to audit what they have done. And the system they are using is like doing your own work. When you've classified it, then you say that I'm using my own, the system that I use for classification to audit the same thing. It is not possible. That is why we are saying that even if it's SML that we don't want, that system needs to be audited, because you can't do evaluation and classification and use your own figures, your own system to audit what you have done.
So ICUMS or ICUMS needs to be audited.
It needs to be audited.
The KPMG also said that you partially delivered on the transactions audit service and the external price verification service. They say you partially delivered, but they didn't give us amounts. Do you have amount of savings you can give us for those two? Because in reading this document, point 3 and point 4 didn't have any financial value. Are you able to provide us numbers around how much you saved us based on transactions audit and external price verification? I
didn't bring any value for this one. But what I want to say is that if we partially, the reason why we said we reject KPMG's observation is that if we partially fulfilled our obligation, this was a proven service that led us to getting the downstream petroleum contract. So if you say
that's the judgment of GRA, but now the matter is beyond GRA, because if the GRA statement was to be taken into whole, I'm just coming. The president asked KPMG to audit what you and GRA are doing. So GRA's decision to give you the contract with all the problems on the contract, that cannot be the basis for saying that your performance is correct. Do you understand? Because we are the reason all of this conversation is going on is that GRA has given you a contract which they didn't go through the right process. The president has asked for KPMG to audit everything else. So you cannot say that because you got the downstream...
GRA has given us a contract that has gone through approvals. It may have gone back and forth. Retroactively. Back and forth, yes, because it was a contract in the making.
No, what I'm saying is that you need to provide evidence that you say you disagree with GRA when this KPMG, they say you partially delivered.
And
I'm saying that what numbers do you have, or what evidence do you have to show that you fully delivered?
The proving service that led
Which proving service?
This same transaction audit. It's a proving service that led to the downstream petroleum. So when you say the downstream petroleum, because the TVAS we are using...
So as determined by who? GRA?
The innovative solution we are using for the transaction audit and external price verification, that TVAS is the same audit and assurance innovation that we are using in the downstream. The SML experience and all that.
Yeah, so let's help ourselves. We are not talking about the method you are using. We want to know how much value you gave us in the transaction audit. How much did we save?
I don't have the figures here.
And yet you disagree with KPMG if they say you partially delivered.
It's not we don't have it. I don't have the figures here. I can give it to you, and then later
but this statement was released like last Wednesday. So, and if you've issued a statement on it and you disagree with it, you should be providing information to the contrary.
We will provide the information if need be, but I don't have the figures here. I'm not saying we don't have the figures, but I'm saying that I don't have the figures here with me.
The reason these numbers are important is that you have been paid $1 billion. We need to know how much you saved us to merit that $1 billion. All KPMG have said is that you saved us $2.45 billion. And you're saying you saved us more, but you've not given us any number.
Okay.
So how are you supposed to know the value of what you gave us?
Can you put my slide on the show for me? Can you put
guys put back the
BOG account?
The second one. Please put the second one up whilst we try and move this forward.
I hope I'll get a chance again.
Well, we're going to have the hour, so we'll see how that works. Is this one?
No.
No, the second document.
No, the other document.
The documents are plenty. Forgive us. The charts are many. This has already been shown. Is this one?
Yes, it's this one. So this is the performance analytics review, and what we said was that during the KPMG audit, KPMG needed a benchmark because that is how you start. They gave us a benchmark. When we came, it was GCNet system that was there. So the benchmark that was given to us was from the GCNet system. And KPMG says that according to the audit criteria, the GCNet system is decommissioned system, so they will not take it.
Yeah.
So then what do? We need to go to the revenue. How did the revenue come about? It came about, the volumes and the tax gave the revenue. So then when we have the tax and then we have the revenue, you can get the volume. Now, can you, yeah. So when you look at the volume, according to the Bank of Ghana.
So this is a Bank of Ghana document? Yes, this is
the Bank of Ghana document. Can you put it up a bit for me,
so
please?
You should read it. Put it behind there so we see. So prior to SML takeoff in the provision of audit and assurance services within the activities
just the table will be fine because of time. So May to December 2020, the volumes we got was 1.7.
So we are back to downstream.
No, just move it up.
Transaction audit.
So this is still for the.
This is the downstream. So it's the downstream that.
That one we just.
It's the downstream that KPMG is saying we have performed 2.45 billion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are saying that if you go to the revenue account, we have performed 14.8 billion. So Ghana cedis.
Pause that there.
Yes.
So you are saying from May to December 2020.
From May to December 2020 to December 2023, which is we started in May 2020. So within that period, the yearly accumulation, as you can see the volume, translates into the revenue that we are showing to you. So the first 8 months, which is the May to December, we had over 2.5 billion. The next year, 2021, we had over 3.9 billion. And then 2022, we had over 3.8 billion. 2023, we had over 4.5 billion. When you accumulate it, it's over 14.8 billion.
So whose document is this?
Bank of Ghana.
What's the name of the document?
So it is the BOG Petroleum Tax Holding Account.
And what page is this? Or what is it? Somebody who summarized it, or you?
It's a statement. We've done this summary.
So I just want to be clear. This is not original BOG. You've put information from BOG together.
No, it's a statement. If you put this, just like the NPA, if you download the data,
what I'm trying to get is that. So this is your document that you've prepared.
It's the Bank of Ghana's document. It's there, but they don't put. It's not put together as in yearly accumulation of this, as we have put it to simplify.
See, the reason I'm asking is that when Bright showed his extract, he pointed to the page of the petroleum account that he was taking his extract from. So I just want to understand that, are you taking this from a particular Bank of Ghana document, or are you picking data from there to now make your own analysis?
We have provided a year. Within that range, if you go to that account, you will see the figures there. He has a style of presentation.
No, I just want to be, see, no,
yes,
I just want to be, because if BOG is not here, so this presentation you're saying is sourced from BOG.
BOG, yes.
But it's not a BOG presentation.
No.
It's not the same thing.
No. It's sourced from BOG.
So I can't get any, there's no name of a BOG document that has this particular.
No.
You put it together.
We put the statement together.
Okay, I think that's very important.
We put the statement together, so we have.
And in your calculation, your volume was, your amount of tax was 14 billion.
14.
Not 2.
So not 2.
14, not 2.
Yes, that is why we say that based on the revenue account, we reject the 2.4 billion.
Good.
And then 1.7
So hold that thought
billion,
there. Hold that thought there. You took issue with even the 2 that.
Well, Bernard, you were talking about the transaction audit services.
Yes.
What Ms. Sapon just explained is the same downstream numbers that we spent the last 1 hour fighting over.
I know.
So it's not a transaction audit affairs.
She couldn't provide information for that.
Secondly, there really isn't any Bank of Ghana petroleum accounts. We have a Bank of Ghana petroleum holding funds account. And that's
what I've presented.
Wait, no, that's for upstream. So that's what Talo, Eni, and those people, the money that we collect for what they call stabilization purposes, etc. Basically, it's not Ghana's sovereign wealth fund. Bank of Ghana collects the SPT money, the one you get, the ex-depot. And then downstream, when you get to the petroleum taxes, that goes to GRA. So maybe what he means is that a special petroleum tax account of some kind, which goes to consolidated fund. And because the consolidated fund sits in the Bank of Ghana, and there's some data there, but that data is not public data. You cannot just simply assume that you can make reference to it. So that was just to clarify for your audience so they're not confused. Now, coming back to ICAMS, the point that Ms. Sapon makes is that ICAMS needs to be audited.
Yeah.
But most people don't know what ICAMS is. ICAMS is another private sector player hired by GRA to do the same kind of things that Ms. Sapon is doing in another domain, which is the ports. So essentially, we are trying to prevent people who are bringing in wine, milk, and things like that from lying about the import duties and things like that. Now, if Ms. Sapon is saying that we can't trust them, so Ghana Link, we can't trust Ghana Link. We need her to come and supervise Ghana Link before we can trust Ghana Link data. Then the question becomes an interminable chain, or rather the effect becomes an interminable chain. Because anybody can then argue that we can't also trust SML. SML will use the data to go and extort. They'll go and tell people that if you give me some money, I'll make some changes. Or if you don't give me some money, I'll say that you owe more. And so for that reason, we need another company to come and audit SML. And then that company also, we need another company. It doesn't make sense. The GRA has hired Ghana Link. Ghana Link has built a platform. That platform is for the purpose of preventing import under declaration. Part of that challenge is people lying about the prices of items they bought when we're bringing them here. So there's this external price verification thing. In fact, one of the reasons why the government kicked out West Blue and GCNet was because the two of them were confusing things. And therefore, he kicked both of them out and brought Ghana Link. Now, you are saying that, no, what do you call him, West Blue was doing, we must still retain that and bring you in. Then what was the purpose of kicking out West Blue? and claiming that, you remember that debate? We fought in this studio with Ministry of Trade and the rest. So the reason is very simple. The ICAM system was brought in to check import duty and other excise taxes and other relevant taxes at the port, other declaration in respect of those. We cannot say that every time we bring another company due to distrust, we bring another company to come and audit them.
Has the presidency taken up your offer to do the audit for the upstream for free? Because you said that in your statement that a lot of civil society groups are willing to do it for free.
Okay, so let me clarify. Where we are now is that the president has given instructions to the Ministry of Finance and GRE to do certain things. GRE and Ministry of Finance must write publicly and explain to the public what they will do, given the president has given them instructions. That's number one. Number two, part of that instruction that they should conduct a comprehensive needs analysis and that they should also conduct value for money assessments. In each of those cases, if you read KPMG carefully, he said it should include stakeholder consultations.
It must be broad.
Very good. So what we are saying is that the civil society movement is now ready to engage in that direction. And on top of that, we have talked to petroleum economists and other experts, including tax specialists, who are willing, if the government so wishes, to put themselves together and
even do it for free.
And do it for free. Pro bono.
So you don't pay like you pay KPMG
exactly.
for this.
Ben,
so that we can go for it. So what's your last word? We are wrapping up now.
My last word is that when Uber and Amazon and all of these innovative companies came, they didn't have any of this that these propaganda people are asking of. Innovation is innovation.
Propaganda
AI
people.
came.
Not very civil.
AI came with it started on itself. And it's delivering. What we have got is an innovative solution, doing real-time monitoring. What we have done is that
Uber was not being paid with public funds. So the difference between what the example you're giving is
the money we are generating.
Let's forget that. Uber is a private company working with private people.
The money we are generating, SML is generating that money. SML is generating that money. Government has not invested.
No, but my point is that they are paying you with public funds.
The money
you are doing work for a public entity. So it's not the same. So the example you give about Uber, as if to say that when foreign companies come, we give them a free pass, and when Ghanaian companies come, there's a distinction there. Which
no, the point I'm trying to make is that when they are saying, when people are saying that they out from nowhere, you have brought your innovation.
But that's a legitimate question. Because Uber was working somewhere before they came to Ghana. They didn't just come to Ghana and get a contract from government.
And downstream petroleum, we have been working.
Since when?
We have been doing transaction audit. We have proven service with that.
Since 2018.
Same
yeah,
government.
but that's the point they're making. That the PPA didn't even give. You didn't have any track record prior to that. You didn't have any track record prior to the 2018.
So
in that field.
So if
to be given a sensitive national work like that.
What is the difference? Has SML caused any financial loss to the state? The question we are asking is that, has SML caused any financial loss to the state?
No, that's a different question. We are the one answering the questions here today.
He is saying that, no, that is what they are trying to promulgate.
The point is that you've been paid $1 billion, but you didn't go through the right procurement process, and you haven't established what actual thing you've done to save us what amount of money. That's the argument.
He was talking about enforcement, putting in controls to improve compliance. And that is what we have done for GRAs. GRA, NPA, they all don't have meters. What we have done is that we have deployed meters.
Yeah, but they are doubting whether the increase in tax is attributable to your work. That's the main argument.
The increase in tax, look, we are, what I showed you is not the 1.74 tax we have. We are still sticking to the old tax, the 1.44. That is the calculation that we showed you.
Okay.
And that increase is as a result of the controls that SML has brought into downstream and tighten control and improve compliance.
Fair enough.
That is what we are saying. And the other thing is that everybody is on SML saying that SML should have gone to Parliament, SML. There are so many third parties in the industry who have not undergone parliamentary approval.
But the nature of your contract and the number of multi-years, the law is very clear that if you're going to be given a contract that will commit a country to paying you more than 1 year, you must go to Parliament. That's clear.
But the other systems, ELDMS, have they gone for parliamentary approval?
Well, it is you who the president asked that we should keep them to
so
look
you should
at.
join us to do that.
So maybe we can then ask for ELDMS to also go there. But from what we know, the nature of the contract you signed needed to have gone through Parliament. It is very clear in the law.
Right. But every year, GRA send their budgets to Parliament.
Yeah.
And SMLs is not aside that.
But that's not a contract.
but it's a multi-year contract. It's different. So the law in Parliament is very clear. I mean, you can go and read it. It's in Act 921.
33 section.
It's the Public Financial Management Act. A contract must have ministerial and parliamentary approval. The nature of the contract is called a multi-year contract. So that's the point. And this is law. It's not anybody saying it out of malice. So the points are clear. We have just a minute. So we just finish in a minute and you finish in a minute.
Another point that he made was that ELDMS is the one that is doing all the improvement and compliance and all of that. The point is that ELDMS was there 2018, but 2019, I showed the data. GRA still had the tax volume gap, and government was losing revenue. That is the point we are making, that we are not here to work to improve lifting volumes. We are here to improve the tax volume. That was becoming a national security issue, and we have delivered on that.
I see.
Bernard,
right.
The issue is
Last
that
2 minutes to end.
when you have a new system like ERDMS, it takes time to mature. During that period, you have to train people, you have to enforce, you have to do all of these things. So over that period, MP has got stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
But the key closing issue is nobody has a problem with Misapo and her company, even though he dismisses us as propaganda people. None of us have actual problems with her company trying to get business in the revenue assurance space. All we are saying is that there should be a comprehensive national needs assessment. How is the system set up together? And then on that basis, there should be an open